And you hear the music, and that means it's that time of month again. It's time for the panel of all knowledge, the Mulligan Group here on the PM show on KYCA. So gather the kids, the dog, grandma, lock them in another room. It's time for this show to begin. All right, guys, 928-541-1016 if you dare to call in. I wouldn't. And the usual panel of people are here who, by the way, by the end of the show, will all be officially fired from the station, as they did not get me an email as to what they did last week in time before the government mandate. So, gentlemen, your pink slips are on your way out the door. Enjoy the show while you can. Point system still counts. So if
I'm
you're
going to miss the salary.
I know. It was exorbitant. It was exorbitant. I could not fill up the corporate jet this week for your salaries. Yes. I had the point system. If you're keeping score at home, we'll go over that in just a minute. But first, around the table we go. First is Mr. Bob Roecker, the Bob Show.
Yes, sir.
And next week?
I'm going to do something completely different. We're going to offer for people who are running for council potential questions that they might be asked during a debate. So if you can think of something that you'd like to have them answer, and I'll give you an example. One of the questions that came up in my little head right away was, have you read the city charter? And do you know what it means to be a charter city in the state of Arizona? That would be one of my questions. And I've come up with some more. Phil might show up and have a few. Anybody who's been on council who would like to call in, or you come on in and ask your questions, and maybe we can direct some of the future debates with some questions that we come up with next week, 4 o'clock, same time, right here, Tuesday.
1 week from today.
One week from today.
Same bat channel.
If I decide to hire you back. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Get me an email by Monday.
Yeah, okay,
All right.
got it.
Around the table we go, Mr. Tom Reilly down. It's close to I've been hearing too many car ads. Number one, and number two, it's close to St. Patrick's Day.
Technically, when my grandfather and his parents came over here from Ireland, it was O'Reilly.
All right.
And they dropped the O because they felt it sounded less Irish. Now, great-grandma and great-grandpa weren't the sharpest tools in the box, but it was they're still family. So yes, it should be in Ireland. I would be known as Tom O'Reilly or Tom Reilly. Doesn't make a difference. The O is understood.
Well, there we go. Tom Reilly from the general plan and all the other stuff.
From county.
Yeah. Well, our name had umlauts over the vowel.
Roecker.
Oh, yeah. So we put an E in there to make
Roecker.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for coming anyway, Tom. By the way, you're down 15 points for all the language before the show. Don't even start to explain yourself. Okay.
The microphones are off.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, you poor sensitive snowflake. I'm sorry I insulted you.
Oh, he's fired again. Okay. I love this.
Well, you don't have to do the memo now.
That is actually plus 10 points for you for calling me a snowflake and getting away with it. So, congratulations. And no, Malcolm, you don't get a chance. You get minus 10 if you follow his lead. Okay. And by the way, that's Malcolm Barrett Jr. over here contemplating.
That's Barrett Jr. to you.
That's right. Barrett Jr. This is our St. Patrick's Day edition, folks. And over in the far corner, of course, is the Dean of the Morning Coffee Group, Phil King, King, or whatever it is.
No, we're straight King from County Ireland.
There you go.
Yeah.
Being from Lithuania, my family, myself, all I know is we lost a lot of letters at the end of the name, and Zinzilieta is long enough as it is. So.
People still can't spell it.
Nope, that's right.
Zinzilieta.
That's right.
Me sainted grandfather was a railroad engineer.
Oh,
drove the trains.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, There we are. Okay, that's all for the show today. You all started off, as I said, down 20 points. Malcolm down 30, just because we're not sending in the email, and then another 15 down for Tom.
I showed you my calendar.
I don't care. You didn't send me an email. Okay, 928-541-1016. We are watching, by the way, the City Council, and we're just kind of keeping an eye on it right now.
Speak singularly there. There's no we in there.
Okay, well, we're listening, watching, and keeping an eye on the City Council, who they are talking about the Open Space Initiative right now, and whether or not it's going to be put on the ballot, the language, you name it. I think it's a foregone conclusion that it's going to appear on a ballot, whether it's going to be primary or general. Is this a good idea?
No.
There you go.
No, Bob's right.
The way that it was initially put out with having to have a vote of the people for any improvements on open space, the answer is I agree. The answer is no.
Okay.
However, I think that the concept of trying to preserve open space, all open space and recreational open space, in such a way that future councils couldn't sell it out from underneath the citizens that use their money to be able to get it, is a good idea. Now, what you do with that open space is very important, and how you deal with that. You don't want to be able to set up something, a recreational. You can't use it for recreational uses where if you put it in a swing set, it's going to require a vote of the people.
Well, that's the problem with it as written.
And that's I'm hoping that the council has some sense and can understand that and make the distinction between them. It's the whole thing, the law of unintended consequences. That Malcolm, put that down.
Yes.
You're right. The law of unintended consequences that you have that unfortunately comes back. I mean, I can give a perfect example of that. When I was on council,
Okay.
we passed the first sales tax that was an open space and roads sales tax. And one of the things we did not do that we should have done, hindsight, is try to decide how much money should go for one or for the other. We had conversations about that, and we were concerned at that time, the majority of council was concerned, that we would be limiting the possibility of what we could do. We'd have all this money for open space, but yet we'd be rubblizing roads. So that was the concern that we had back then, unintended consequences. Well, subsequently, the open space folks said, hey, we didn't get any open space. So they came back, and it came back again to the voters to redo that. So the unintended consequences are a real thing.
Do you see the public buying in open space, lots of it like we have, and not using it?
I think
they're going to want to use it, right?
No, that's the whole point.
No,
is
they're-
what does open space mean? If it means fallow, hundreds of acres fallow sitting out there,
Only maybe
untouched.
0.2% of 1% of the population
Would
even
even
has the ability to use it.
and the fact
that's elitism.
and the fact is, what's an improvement?
good
Does that mean mowing 600 acres out by the airport so it won't catch fire?
Well,
Is that an improvement?
We have to deal with noxious weeds. They're
What-
going to happen.
You're going to have to maintain that land. It costs money.
Absolutely.
What about the conversation going on about West Granite Creek Park now? That was all those improvements were done as part of the deal with the Hilton Hotel. Now they're talking, well, it first came up, let's pave it so we have parking for the new city hall that nobody thought of at the time. Well, that went away, and now they want to just let it
Forgot
go
about that.
fallow
Yeah.
again and let it go
Well,
back to its native condition.
Let me step in, Malcolm. I
and
know you're
that
probably-
breaks the deal with the Hilton, so you don't want to go there
Well, and
either.
that brings me to a question that I have. I wanted to bring up the rodeo grounds issue that is now being debated whether or not this money should be coming to the rodeo grounds or whatever. The rodeo grounds were purchased by
Open space money.
open space money.
That's right.
And what happens? What happens?
And they desperately
you-
need improvements wherever the money comes from.
Why are people so against this issue? I keep hearing that people are petitioning the state not to grant these grant monies.
if you can't have it, nobody can. That's the
Okay,
attitude
so that's
here.
okay.
Yeah.
Because there was some initial thought that, well, gosh, if the rodeo wouldn't have gotten that $15 million, we could have got it for whatever we wanted it for.
Yeah.
No, didn't work that
my
way.
goodness.
Buying more land.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we had no ambiguity about the first road tax we got passed, which
Yeah.
was 2 full % for roads only.
And we
this
listed
was
the-
the assured program of the road improvement.
We listed the 5 roads, and when those were done, the tax went away.
Correct. It sunset.
And then it was extended, and the council was allowed at discretion to use it for open space money, which is how the city ended up with the fairgrounds.
Yeah. Tom?
Couple
No,
other
no.
things.
No, nothing? Okay.
So unintended consequences, yeah, you bet.
Yeah, you
You've
bet.
got to make sure the language is good. That was the problem with 478.
Yep.
So they're debating that right now. We may have an initiative on the August ballot. If they don't get it done in 2 weeks, it goes to the November ballot, and then we see what happens. Okay, well, obviously we're not going to decide anything now.
No, it's going to be interesting, though, to watch who on council votes for it. And I'll bet you're going to find a couple of folks up there who are running for office again that are really going to talk to the microphone.
Oh, it's going to be interesting.
No
That's
doubt.
for sure.
No
There-
doubt.
every minute before you have to turn in signatures is going to be well taken advantage of, I'm certain. But that is, I believe, the first part of April when signatures are due.
Which I might add, though, for the first time, the city of Prescott
Yes.
is allowing online signatures for
Yeah.
city council races.
I've heard that's going well.
It's going very well. It's really a good site. You got to confirm your identity. You say, okay, it takes you to the page, and not only will it give the council races at the end of mayor, council, whomever you wish, it will say, click this box to see all offices I'm eligible to sign for. And it gives you an entire list.
Oh, cool.
And if you're eligible to sign, if you haven't signed out the maximum number of petitions
So
for
what's
each
the
office.
headline you go to? City of Prescott, or what is it?
The AZSOS online petitions.
Okay, AZSOS
And you have,
online.
and you have to find the
petitions.
petition through there, which there aren't that many, really, because
I'll have to check
Pretty
that
easy.
out.
It's pretty easy to find. Pretty intuitive.
And I
yeah.
believe there is a link on the City Hall site, but
Okay.
I haven't looked at it because, in my opinion, it's entirely
I think
dysfunctional.
the county recorder also has it on there. So.
Recorder also.
one of the really intelligent things about this that I have heard is that when you do that through the Secretary of State's office, your signature is vetted by the Secretary of State. So that's almost better than just a plain signature.
Well, you need to give either your voter registration number
Mm-hmm.
or your driver's license number
Horrors.
or a date of birth, and they got to know who it is.
Voter ID.
Good.
And if you don't want to put
To sign
that ID
petitions.
on, then go find a petition and sign it wet.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, I'll tell you what, we're going to take our first break here on the Mulligan Group here on KYCA, 928-541-1016. The guys are all here. I've been keeping score. You are all so far down into the minus, it's not even funny anymore. And we will give it a scoring update and talk about the possibilities of Doge coming up after this. And we're back here on the KYCA PM show. It's the Mulligan Group, the panel of all knowledge. I can't say that with a straight face anymore.
Self-deprecating.
I know.
Yes.
And thank you all for joining us. At this moment, if we look at the total scores so far, I'm going to say that Bob is probably in first place right now.
Thank you very much.
At minus 20. Phil, you're close behind, minus 25.
25 under par is pretty good.
That's not bad. I mean, yeah, and Malcolm, well,
You start me at negative 40 every show.
I know. Well, you're in triple digits now, so congratulations. Okay. Somebody happened to say something about a possible Doge committee happening down at Arizona State in the legislature and in the government.
Let's start local first.
Well, no, wait a minute. I'm going to get to that first. But didn't we already have a Doge committee by the name of Andy Tobin down there in Phoenix?
We
Yes,
did.
That's what he was. That's
Yeah.
what he was. He was the hired hit man for redundant and unnecessary departments.
And as I understand,
did a decent job.
yeah, as I understand, he did a great job. that is not, let's just face it, I'm not even going to ask. This is not possible under the current administration.
She's inventing jobs.
Well, that's true. What was that job that just came up?
It was
100 and
coordinator of Veteran Family Affairs.
That the legislature
already
had
somebody
refused to confirm her
Okay.
for a couple of positions, so Katie invented a position at $170,000 a year salary, and then just put her in it,
As deputy director or something like that.
whatever.
And there's somebody already
whatever
there
the
doing
title
the
is.
job.
Yeah,
Right.
whatever the title is, but she just gets to go sit and get money.
Well,
Tammany Hall.
now, here's the thing.
Tammany
Obvious-
Hall looks
ob-
good. You know?
Obviously, we know that there's some bloat down at the state level, that Andy Tobin did his best, and he tried to keep things down as much as he could, and he accomplished quite a bit. What needs to happen at the local level? I mean, we've got this OpenGov app coming to the city pretty soon, where people are going to be able to see to the penny what we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, as I've talked about, next week on the Bob Show, I'm
Yeah.
going to be asking questions, and maybe Phil will come and anybody who wants to ask questions
Yeah.
for future debates. One of the questions that came to mind is, do you know how many departments there are at the city of Prescott?
Yeah.
And
Good
see
question.
what they answer.
I don't know.
went to the website and I counted them. You ready?
I'll tell you what, here.
No.
here.
Yeah. Whisper. it.
Yeah.
I was
Let's see.
24.
Yeah.
Woo.
24 headlines or headings under the city of
That's
Prescott's website.
two more than when we were there. It was 22. 22 operations that the city.
Right.
22
That's a better way to put it.
businesses. 22 businesses
Yeah, that's
that the
better way
city runs.
So,
I never bothered to count. That's what Mark Woodfill's for.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what needs to happen? Or Tom, you can make your
Well,
comment.
I have to be honest with you. I think that the employees that are running the city, the day-to-day stuff, I got to say that by and large, I trust them all.
Yes.
I think they're doing a really good job. I don't
agree.
think that they are stepping out. I don't think that there is a lot of bloat in what they are being told to do. I don't think they are causing the bloat. I think if there is any bloat, I do think that over the years, councils have responded to a variety of different requests by citizens to do things like take care of our urban landscapes. You know, have somebody go around and water the flowers
Yeah.
every morning.
Right.
You know, keeping the streets clean, the sidewalks clean in the tourist areas, things like that. You know, that used to be the job of the shopkeepers and things like that. But now we have people that are doing that kind of thing, and folks are wanting that kind of services. Recreational services has increased quite a bit, and they've done it because people want to have certain services done. So I think that are there things that, you know, could be done away with? Probably. But I think that people need to pay attention to what it is they ask for, because they might get it.
Right.
And if I want to have trails that are in fairly good shape, or if I want to have playgrounds where, you know, not like we had playgrounds where, you know, your kids aren't going to get hurt and things like that, you know, then I think we need to realize that we have to pay for those things.
I had a hard time thinking that we needed anything at the local level, and I think there was a point that Tom made that we've heard elsewhere. I think a lot of the problem at the federal level is simply that nobody's been in the office for the last 3 years. Whereas here in Arizona and in Prescott, everybody's been here. You got a month off for COVID or whatever. You were a little sick, but everything was back under control by 2021.
If you're suggesting that the bloat happened during the COVID,
No. What I'm saying is,
it's been there for a long time.
Oh, no. What I'm saying is that we had too many people back in their offices for too long. And let's face it, the folks who are working downtown are our neighbors. We know when there's a problem that's going on, it gets around.
Yeah.
And we don't hear anything like that. We don't hear it in Prescott Valley. I don't hear it in Chino Valley. Perhaps the state or maybe the county level, although they seem to be doing a good job, maybe the state is where we need to start.
Well, I think you do need to start, and I think that with the new transparent open.gov
Yep.
that's going to be coming through will give a lot of nitpickers, you know, to
Yep.
go through and start asking a lot of questions about different things. And when I was on council, I used to be one of those nitpickers. I'd be one of the guys that sit there looking at the detailed cost for not Pioneer Parkway, Prescott Lakes Parkway, and they were going to put a bridge across there, and there was $25,000 in there for a geomorphologist. And I asked the question, I think, what is a geomorphologist, and why are we spending $25,000 on one? And I got an answer. But it was something that they studied.
We
the
used
way
to
that-
go through the budget with the highlighter, the yellow streaks.
Yeah.
And what
Everybody
is
out
this
there,
and what is
vote,
that?
vote,
and
vote.
and yeah.
I got one quick
But-
question. That
no.
I want
Go
to
ahead.
go back to the rodeo grounds for a minute because it's still in my head.
Okay.
Does anything in what they're trying to do today regarding open space preclude the use of the rodeo grounds?
No, it would preclude improvements, like
Okay,
more.
improvements, but there's nothing that would preclude. It's
The
not.
use.
It's not written in such a way that all open space must remain fallow or anything like
No.
that.
No.
Okay. Okay.
Not at this point. No.
Okay.
Yeah,
No.
I mean
All right.
that
the
would
main
be
point of contention is the city feels they need spending authority and holding the money.
Get your mic.
Holding the money.
Thank you.
yeah.
They're the appointed rodeo
All right.
improvement
One
That makes
thing-
experts.
sense. That makes sense.
It's
One-
control.
Yeah, one
Okay.
thing I'll hit on the question about the state
That's 10 points down
is
to you, Bob.
the state agencies, almost all state agencies have a paid position in them that's called program and project specialist.
Okay.
And that person's on salary to sit in the back room and think up more things for the agency to do. More programs, more projects, and how can we expand the scope of this agency? And they've all got one.
Interesting.
Want to cut something?
There you go.
Similar problem with city councils that we've all seen it happen. You sit around and start thinking up things to regulate or new programs we need.
We always need new streets. We always
You've got essentials that need money.
Yeah.
Stop spending the money on other things and take care of A, B, and C first.
Exactly.
Priorities first.
Yep.
And it boils down to basic services. What do you call a basic service? It's pretty narrowly defined,
Yes.
in my opinion.
And that's
Yeah, it is.
What do we have? 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
that's the bedrock: sewer, water.
Streets.
Fire,
Streets,
police,
police.
streets,
Yeah,
sewer, and water.
That was and
And-
pretty much it. And when you borrow money from those departments, for example, to buy a new city hall building, you shortchange those budgets, and it has to be paid back to those departments over time with interest. So you're getting a double whammy when you do that.
Would you add garbage pickup as one of the basic
Oh, yeah.
services?
We
Well,
actually,
that's
the
solid
Alternative
waste.
Service Committee went through an entire process on seeing what can be done more efficiently in the private sector. For example, let's compare the city of Prescott to the town of Prescott Valley. Prescott Valley has no water department. They have no sanitation department. They have no airport.
They have no fire
And they
department.
have no golf course, and they have no
Fire
fire
department,
department.
yeah.
So what do they have?
They have a water department.
Permits and
Yes,
plans
that's-
and recreation services.
They have the water system, but that's it.
and
yeah.
they do have streets
And they have police.
and police.
You did say police. Okay.
Yes,
Well, anyway,
police.
we're going to take a quick break here on KYC APM. The scintillating second half coming up after this. And by listening to the theme to the Three Stooges, you know we're halfway through the Mulligan Group here on the News 1490. What, Phil?
We've never been able to figure out which of the four is excluded.
Oh. I'm Curly.
Well, that leaves two of us.
I'm
in the
always
clear.
I'm always Curly. Okay. Next thing coming up. All right. Breathe the free air, gentlemen, because we are 37 days into the Trump administration, and it just is Christmas every single day.
It keeps getting better.
Makes FDR's 100 days look slow-mo.
It looks at everybody, and
This is you can't keep up. It's coming so hard and fast. It's fabulous.
it is. It's amazing. So, right off the top of your head, you have control over Doge for one day. What's the next department you point them toward?
Education.
Yeah, okay.
Almost have to be.
Yeah. All right, Tom, any thoughts?
Between it's either the Department of Defense or Agriculture.
Yeah. Agriculture, I hadn't thought of that. That's true.
Energy.
Energy. And that's
Energy is entirely unnecessary.
Yeah. And
Well, the Keystone Pipeline's going to start up again.
Well, the Energy Department has thousands of employees who just create data and study data.
Yeah.
And write reports. They don't accomplish anything.
so,
How much they get paid? That sounds good.
well, you've been fired from here, so you might as well go and look for a job.
I need to get a nice, cushy federal job somewhere.
Some of the things that Doge is doing, I mean, going in and doing the blanket firing and then decide who you want to come back. I mean, yeah, that's something Elon Musk has done with X or Twitter or whatever it is, and he does that kind of thing, and I understand it, and I understand what they're trying to accomplish. But the thing is, just to say, like what you just said, somebody sitting in a back room studying data and writing reports, there is some value to the data that is collected, and there is some value to being able to share that data. Now, when you take a look at things like USAID or whatever that was, do we need to spend time studying LGBTQ in Zimbabwe? Really? I mean, no.
Trump has abbreviated that now to LGB.
Yeah. USAID, Agency for International Development, gave tens of millions of dollars to an outfit called NEO Philanthropy. NEO Philanthropy. Okay? It's a nonprofit. That group, NEO, gave money to other nonprofits, such as Everytown USA and the Giffords Foundation. Those recipients don't have to note that it's taxpayer money because it comes through NEO, and the Giffords Foundation, of course, donated to the campaigns of anti-gun senators like the guy who runs the Giffords Foundation and is Arizona's senator.
When I look at that, I see a money laundering process.
No
That's
question.
what it is.
That's exactly what it is. No question.
Those are the things you need to be able to go after, and sometimes you need to, create a big splash in order to find out what the little droplets of water all mean. And I think that's what's happening, and we're seeing that a lot of that stuff is. A lot of it is waste, and I think they're pulling it together. Sometimes I think they're a little abrupt about it. They go about it perhaps a little bit too, splashy. Too big of a splash to start with, but they're going to get there. And I have to tell you, my stepson is working. He just got a job with the federal government, Bureau of Land Management in California, in Sacramento, California, doing surveys. And he's a surveyor, and also does CAD and things like all those different things. And just about everybody in probation, he's on a probationary period. Everybody in his department except for two people got fired on probation. And the reason these two guys didn't get fired, he was one of them. He's a vet. He's a former Army Ranger. Sure. And so that's the only reason they didn't get fired.
What's another word
so far
for big splash?
Meat cleaver.
Cannonball.
Yeah.
And Trump is the Cannonball Express.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you got rid of the process for omnibus bills. Would some of this stuff, would some of this go away because they'd have to address it
It would
one
have
by
to
one by one.
they would have to be budget items instead of let's
so-
just
so-
do a CR and give everybody 2%.
Yeah, so if you had to explain some of this stuff we're talking about, you couldn't do it. It wouldn't ever appear,
And
right?
look at what just happened with the SBA. The new director of SBA went into the office building on last Friday. 90% of the employees were not there. She said, show up Monday morning. A lot of them were there yesterday. They were all back today.
Anybody not here today is gone.
Yeah.
But
You know,
Well,
another
I-
thing we
but-
need to go back to is zero-based budgeting.
oh, yeah.
well, you could do that.
Well, you need to
Start
do that.
over every year.
Are,
look at
are our
that.
representatives, are our elected representatives lazy? They don't care. What's the problem with the people we are electing? Because none of this should ever have developed.
It's called campaign fundraising. Go along to get along.
Promise them everything.
Promise them everything. Look, if you support this, we'll make sure that you never have to raise money for your next campaign.
Okay,
There you go.
I'll scratch
It's the
your
cost
back,
of
you scratch
fundraising.
mine thing.
Go to the Canadian system of campaigning and fundraising.
Fidelity Investments, the mutual fund company,
Yes.
gave $6.7 million to Giffords.
Mm.
So,
Well,
Where's your
the
where's your portfolio?
what is the Canadian National Parliamentary Campaign time limit?
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Is it 90 days or 60 days?
I says, we can go through all these different things, but I just would say, for me, I sometimes cringe, but in general, I'm supporting Doge and making sure that going through this whole
Well,
process here.
sometimes you got to hit them over the head with that 2x4 to get their attention.
And sometimes you got to do that, and I understand that. I wish it was simpler to do, but I don't
Yeah.
think that it is. And I'm not embroiled or smart enough to know what's going on in the deep recesses of Washington, and I don't think that they are, but I think that they're smart enough to try to figure out what's going on by making the cannonball, as
I-
Malcolm calls
I
it.
have a
Cannonballs are good.
I have a source in D.C. who works for one of the bureaus, and when the orders came out, everybody goes back to work. That only applies to GS 13 and up.
Right.
He's a 12, so he can still work from home 3 days a week.
all right.
But
We'll see. Here we
so
go.
this is how the game is played, and it takes that 2x4 sometimes to. You got to break eggs to make omelets, right?
There you go. Okay, we're going to have to take a
Who
quick
can
break.
afford eggs?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Your cousin from Boston.
Oh my gosh. All right. You know what, Malcolm? That's it. You lose.
I
We're
should
done.
have got positive points for that. That's a great commercial.
I know, but still, no.
Cannonball in this hot tub.
The fact that you had to say it was enough. Okay. If you're keeping score at home, Malcolm loses again. Sorry. Consolation prizes, rice-a-roni, the San Francisco treat, and
And the Pelosi
and
building.
the Pelosi building along with it. Okay, we got to take a break. We're over time. Sorry, Scotty. We'll be back after that. Welcome back to the KYCAPM show. It's the Mulligan Group tonight, or as we like to call it, the panel of all knowledge. Well,
Speak for yourself.
I'm trying, but you guys won't let me. I will say this. I want to wrap something up real fast from the last segment before we move on. And, Tom, I promised you have the floor first. I think when I'm thinking about the Doge Committee, and, they're going through everything with a machete, I think for us out here, I think we'll be able to tell how serious this is. And believe me, I support Doge. When we see the level of support for firefighting and wildfire fighting throughout this summer and see what effect the cuts have to the Forest Service and the firefighting. If we have a good year where we have plenty of resources and everything, then I think we have a very positive impact of Doge all the way around. I think that's going to be a good indicator. That's my opinion. So
I would agree. It's too soon to say whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
The jury's still out. But I would like, and thank you for the microphone for a moment.
Go ahead.
I want to give a shout out to Sandy Griffiths, Executive Director of Yavapai County Contractors Association, for her letter to the editor in the Courier today, stating that the center always was the Reilly P. Simmons Adult Center, not the center. It never should have been. It never should have been the center. Shame on whoever did that, whoever called it that. And thank you, Sandy, for writing that out there and writing that letter and putting it out there, because it is the Reilly P. Simmons Community
Science still
Center.
says that.
Yeah, and I'll
front.
second that too.
Yeah. If they change it to the center, I'm gonna be angry.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Well, we
You
could.
can boycott all those Republican committee meetings they have there.
Well, I'll certainly do that.
You do that
Plus,
anyway.
as a senior citizen, I won't go there.
You're true.
Spray paint.
Have you ever been there? There's nothing there. Nobody there but old people.
You looked around Prescott lately?
But I'm still younger.
Then some. Let me.
Yes, go
One
ahead.
last thing
Go
about
ahead.
Doge.
Go ahead.
Doge is the implementation of something that's been a basic part of the conservative movement since 1962, when Brent Bazell wrote Conscience of a Conservative for Barry Goldwater. And it says in there, don't talk to me about making government more efficient. My aim is to reduce its size. And if people say you're not taking care of your constituents, I will say the first job I have is to defend their freedoms.
True.
What did Sam Steiger always say? What did he always say?
Well,
The first
can't
job
repeat
of
some
any
of that.
bureaucrat is to keep their
his job.
Correct.
He said that 100
100
times.
times. Yep.
when I
Or,
was
of course, Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Government is not the solution to the problem. Government is the problem.
Yeah. And it's been a basis of the
I'm
movement.
from the government. I'm
It's
here to
been a
help.
basis of
And it always
movement
ends up
since,
going around just like
since the Bill Buckley, Barry Goldwater days.
Yep.
1962, 64. And that's been one basic tenet of the conservative movement ever since. It took a not conservative president to get it done or to get it started. And we'll see where it ends up with like Tom says.
And I put this forward, something that I read. I wish I had the author right here. I happened to see this earlier today, where the pundit posits the fact that we are not dealing with a Republican government or a Democrat government.
No.
This is a brand new thing, and that's mainly why the Republicans have the Democrats, have no idea how to react, because this is not the Republicans.
No, it's not.
And the Republicans are just kind of going along for the ride, at least the congressional Republicans,
Most of them.
but they don't have any idea what this is either.
Well, nobody's sure
Yeah.
where it's going to end up. Neither are we. But
Nobody
I
was
like the
prepared.
movement happening.
Well,
For
there
the
are
second
Neither
Trump
are the guys
term.
swinging the machetes. They're not going to show where it's going to end up.
Right.
No.
A
But there
very
are certain things, though, that the public wants the government to do. One of the things that I always think about is when you go into a restaurant, does the public expect that the government
Not to die from food
has-
poisoning.
Yes.
that too.
And is that okay? Is that a basic service?
Does the
Is that something that you don't go back if you get sick thing? I mean, where do you would see the
County-
problem is where do you-
county health departments are local government? Are we talking about local and state government? We're talking
Okay.
about the feds.
and where do they
federal-
get the rules?
The federal government is limited ostensibly by the enumerated powers in the
Not-
Constitution, mostly ignored in the breach, but
Yeah.
are observed in the breach. But Department of Ed, for example, where does it say in the Constitution that the federal government shall establish education standards?
well
It
done.
doesn't.
Well, how would you prioritize the role of the federal government in order?
How much time do we have left?
Yeah.
No.
Start at the top.
What's the federal government in business to do?
It's basic services again. I mean, you could take the local level. It's the same thing.
National defense.
National
Read
defense
out-
number
protect the
one.
citizens.
Read Article
right.
1. Read Article 1. It's laid out right there.
Yes, it is.
True. I'm going to just put this out, and then we have to take a
I
quick
can't
break.
cite it.
That's another 10. Okay. That's on you, Malcolm. You said it. Very interesting picture, and I'll put this before all of you guys. This is labeled Team America. This is a picture of Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, and Robert F. Kennedy, a.k.a. Team America, a.k.a. former Democrats.
Yeah.
Every one of them a
Yeah,
former
well,
Democrat.
that's one of them.
And one, the poor African American immigrant.
The Mod Squad.
That's true. Yes, exactly. And then throw in the others like Joe Rogan, who made such an impact on this election, who was a former Democrat, a former Bernie supporter,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're going to take our final break here on KYCA.
Elon Musk from South Africa.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for that.
okay.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, I was trying to put that.
Political went up.
We'll be back right after this. Here we go. And we're back here on the KYCA PM show. Jason Zinzilieta back with you. Of course, in case I didn't introduce them well enough before, Bob Roecker, Tom Reilly, Malcolm Barrett Jr., and of course Phil King. The O is silent in everybody's everybody's
Oh,
name.
Zinzilieta.
Oh, Zinzilieta, yes. We don't claim to be from Ireland, wrong side of the continent. So there we are.
Only one day a year.
Only one day a year.
Ireland's not part of the continent.
I celebrate Scottish Independence Day. They know how to party, let me tell you.
Our family.
And the Irish don't know how to party?
Oh, well, yes. Okay.
What rock have you been living under?
Oh,
Oh,
Tom.
oh, Tommy.
Malcolm the First, Malcolm the Second, Malcolm the Third, and Malcolm the Fourth. All kings
of
of
Scotland.
Our
Scotland.
family was from a little town in Germany called Adelshofen. And as the story goes, they were assigned to Nazis during the war. And when the Americans came through, one of them ran away, one of the Nazis. The other one they found hiding under a bench or a table or something. And they took him out and shot him.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the whole story of Adelshoffen that I know.
yeah. Well, my family's from Lithuania, and we don't know very much, if anything, because the Soviets burned all the records,
Yeah.
and so our family is kind of lost. So, my family came through Ellis Island. They lost a few letters off the end of the name of my grandfather, and
How is that possible?
Our
I
family
wonder.
came through Ellis Island.
You know what? No. You know what, Malcolm?
Okay, I won't repeat that.
All right. Okay. Now let's get on with the final part of our conversation. I missed something. I'm sorry. I was
Sorry.
busy.
You didn't miss a thing.
No,
believe
Thank you.
me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very quickly, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Of course, we got a few things left to cover today. I don't know where to go from here, simply because as soon as you turn around and you see what's going on at the federal government, it changes. You can't get a reaction. The Democrats don't know how to respond to this. So my question is, I guess, when it comes down, let's get to the first major milestone, which is midterm elections next year. How with such a close race, and you have an incumbent president who is, quote unquote, Republican, what the heck happens?
Depends on how successful the Democrats are in scaring the population.
Well, let's start here at Little River City, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
When I think Katie Hobbs and Chris Mays are booted.
Okay.
I don't know with who.
Well, it could be Andy Biggs. It could be Karen
KTR.
Robeson.
Karen. I got my money on Karen Taylor Robeson.
Okay.
really?
Yes.
I think it's going to be dependent entirely on how well Doge does.
Okay.
I really think that depending upon how they end up 2 years from now, a year and a half from now, what they end up doing, what they've done, they should have some accomplishments by then, and then how those accomplishments are going to be reviewed and seen by the country.
Okay.
The liberal press is going to be tough to beat.
Historically, the party in the White House loses House seats in the first
Historically,
off-year election.
Right, but we are in unprecedented times here.
We
I
are.
think one of the big things we have to watch, and this is going to sound crazy, is I think the federal government has to start selling buildings because buildings that are unoccupied are like closet space. The more you have, the more you fill. You want to fill them, you do fill them, and if they're still there, they'll fill them.
The
You gotta get rid of them.
Pelosi building,
For example, you've got to get rid
where
of some
they
of these
told the
buildings.
employees not to come because it's in too
dangerous.
dangerous a neighborhood.
Okay, now next question when it comes to Doge and defunding the federal government.
Is it Doge or Doge?
Doge. It was like the Doge coin, which is where that came from. All right. What effect do you think this massive sell-off, if it becomes a fact in the next 4 years, is going to have on public lands in Arizona particularly? What do you think? Do we see a much bigger swath of state land suddenly?
I'd like to see them go back to the proposition they tried a couple of elections ago to put the state in authority over most of the federal lands, not the federal parks, but most of the federal lands within the state.
Okay.
Well, there's a reason we see areas of the southeast and the northeast and even the northwest very densely populated, and that's called water. That's nothing. We will never have that here in Arizona. We will still have a majority of unpopulated land here is because you need water for people to live.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're talking about building new cities in the middle of nowhere like Anthem,
No.
which is done on a water lease, by the way, from the Ak-Chin tribe. The Ak-Chin leased their water rights to the builders of Anthem.
Do you know what SRP is getting ready to build a new reservoir down there? A 300-foot deep reservoir.
Wow.
Where?
They were going to add.
I don't know the location.
They were going to
Down-
add.
down
When I say down there, somewhere down.
They were going to add 32 feet to Bartlett Dam to
So
raise the dam 32 feet there. That's the lowest one on the Verde River.
I know of no scenario where our AMA can get to safe yield without importing water. There is no scenario that allows that to happen.
And that's why the city bought the water ranch to
right.
use
So
it.
Let's go get it.
Use it for the imports, use it for recharge, and bang, we're at safe
Okay,
yield.
there you go. All we have to do is do it.
There you go. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left. Predictions, if anybody wishes to make any. Bob.
I No, I have nothing.
I'm sorry, I kind of threw that at you. I'll tell you what, you get a week to think about it.
Okay.
You can talk
City,
about it.
city election.
There you go. How about city election?
Need change?
We need and we're going to offer some suggestions next week on the Bob Show. Hopefully we can get whoever's going to be running these debates some thoughts about what they should be asking.
Tom, any thoughts?
I think that Doge is going to be wildly successful.
Okay.
And I think that we're going to see that happen, and we're going to see a turnaround in what usually happens in midterms. And I think that we are going to find that a lot of people are going to be greatly embarrassed by what it is that Doge finds.
I'm sure of that.
Yeah, we've seen that coming already.
Malcolm.
I see a much anticipated demise of the View.
Fingers crossed. Phil, very quickly.
City election coming up. I think it's imperative that we make some changes to the council membership and get the priorities straight.
And that brings us to the end, folks. Voters, watch yourselves and watch your candidates carefully. We'll be back 1 month from today. Bye-bye.